My father stood at the head table, glass raised, voice thick with self-importance. "We're selling the company," he announced, eyes sweeping the room. "Jane, you get nothing." The laughter that followed wasn't just cruel, it was rehearsed. My sister's smug smile, my uncle's chuckles, my father's satisfied nod. They thought they'd gunned me in public, humiliated me at my sister's wedding. But I only smiled. "Who's the buyer, Dad?" I asked, steady, sharp. He lifted his glass higher. "Titan Holdings, 38 million." The crowd clapped, glasses clinked. My father basked in his victory. I stood, lifted mine. My voice sliced through the noise. "I am Titan Holdings." The room froze. They never saw me coming. But I'd seen them. All my life. I grew up in boardrooms instead of playgrounds. My father paraded my sister as the golden child, while I was the afterthought. My ideas dismissed, my efforts twisted into failures. I stayed quiet, took notes, watched. At 16, I caught my father laughing with his partner. "Jane's book smart, but she'll never run this place." At 21, my promotion mysteriously vanished, handed to my sister. "She's better with people," he said. At 25, my name was erased from the succession plan. Erased like I'd never existed. That was the betrayal, not just being overlooked, but being systematically buried alive. So I taught myself how to breathe underground. It started with patterns. My father's arrogance blinded him. He trusted contracts, lawyers, and old boys clubs. He never imagined his overlooked daughter could slip between the cracks he ignored. I studied corporate law at night, negotiation tactics on weekends. I memorized every clause in the shareholder agreements while my family mocked me for being obsessed. They thought I was sulking. I was sharpening knives. The discovery came 3 years ago. Buried in quarterly filings, I noticed a vulnerability. My father's majority stake was leveraged. He'd borrowed heavily against his shares to fund expansions. If the right entity bought up debt quietly enough, those shares could be forced into new hands. That entity was me. Step by step, I built it. Shell companies, silent partners, a web of holdings so dense my father couldn't trace it back even if he bothered to look. Titan Holdings was born out of his negligence. And me? I became its shadow. I kept my mask intact. At family dinners, I let them sneer. At meetings, I let them interrupt. At my sister's engagement party, I listened to her toast. Some of us are destined for success, and some aren't. I smiled then too, because by that point, Titan Holdings already owned the debt, already owned the leverage, already owned him. He just didn't know it yet. The deal was announced at the wedding because my father craved spectacle. He thought revealing my exclusion during my sister's big day would humiliate me twice over. He didn't realize he was reading lines I'd written for him. When he said Titan Holdings, he handed me the knife. When he bragged about 38 million, he sharpened its edge. And when I stood, glass raised, and said, "I am Titan Holdings," I twisted. The silence that followed was perfect. My sister's bouquet slipped from her hands. My uncle coughed, choking on champagne. My father's face drained, then reddened, then froze in something he'd never felt before. Fear. "You're lying," he whispered. I pulled out the folder, the contracts, the signatures, the seal of the deal he'd bragged about minutes earlier. His hands shook as he scanned them. He looked up at me, eyes wild. "How?" I leaned in close. "While you laughed, I listened. While you ignored me, I studied. While you built an empire on arrogance, I built Titan Holdings." The room watched him crumble. The confrontation didn't end with shouting. It ended with silence. He couldn't scream, not in front of his partners, investors, guests. He couldn't undo the signatures, couldn't claw back what was already mine. The great patriarch, the untouchable tycoon, reduced to a man who'd sold his legacy to the daughter he disowned. That was my revenge. Not just taking the company, not just the fortune, making him announce it, making him hand me the crown while thinking he was banishing me. That was justice. Later, after the wedding collapsed into whispers and stares, my father cornered me. "You'll regret this," he hissed. "No," I said. "You'll finally feel it." "Feel what?" "What it's like to be invisible." I walked away, left him standing in the wreckage he'd created. Now, every morning I walk into the headquarters of Titan Holdings, my company, my rules. His name stripped from the walls, mine etched in steel. Do I feel guilt? No. Betrayal taught me clarity. Neglect taught me strategy. Arrogance taught me patience. They thought they'd buried me. Instead, they planted me, and I grew into the empire.